CeeLo Productions presents Backstage Access. I'm your co-host, Scott Lowe.
And I'm your co-host, Tony Gonzalez.
And in this podcast, we discuss all things in the world of Christian music and entertainment. All right. Thank you for joining us this week for Backstage Access. This week, we have a guest all the way from New York. We have the trio of Undefeated. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Hello.
We're doing very well.
Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your evening to spend with us, and so we can learn more about you guys. Our listeners can learn more about you guys. We're really excited to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you. We are super excited to do this.
All right.
Awesome. Let's just get into it. So, what is your guys's your personal stories and kind of walk us through how what your testimonies were and how that transitioned into actually starting Undefeated.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kick us off for this. I had a little bit of a hard time when Meredith said that I have to do testimony because it's not something I do quite often, but I wrote a lot of it down, so I feel more comfortable now.
Okay.
So, when I was growing up, we grew up in a very faith-based Christian home automatically. So my life has been pretty easy to begin with. Like, I grew up in a Christian home. All my friends were Christian. I had a group of, 4 or 5 guys that were my best friends that we all went to the same church. We all were on, the same soccer team. So my life was just super easy. I knew the Lord right from the get-go, right?
Nice.
But the issue with our town is we never had good Christian music. Up here in the North Country in New York, there's a lot of country stuff and nothing very exciting for young kids. I don't know how to say that really, and it's probably about 6-7 years ago when a pastor came in to Carthage, and that's half an hour from where we live, and he started up this rock fest, which is called North Country Music Fest at this point. And I've come to learn that God bumps me in certain directions, kind of let me give a little analogy, like bowling. In bowling, when you first start out with bowling, you're terrible. You're always throwing gutter balls, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to realize that God pops these bumpers up when you first start, so you always hit that strike. So throughout my life, I've come to realize that God bumps me in certain ways to get to where I have to go. So that was one of the first times that I realized that God bumped me into a different direction than what I was going. I started liking harder and harder music, like rock music, but it wasn't necessarily God honoring. And when I first got into that, I was like, yeah, it's cool and all, but it wasn't soul filling. It made me feel very empty. When I went to that rock fest and I saw people like The Protest, Random Heroes, Seventh Day Slumber, God really opened up my eyes to the Christian side of rock, and it really, really changed my life and the way I drummed. I can look back and see multiple times that God bumps me into different alleys that allow me to be better and follow Him in a way that just makes sense in my life. So, about 3-4 weeks ago, I was called up. This is just another example. I was called up to do a show down in Florida. Now, it's the first time I've ever played with a different band, so I was super nervous. I had 2 days to learn the songs, and then a day to practice with the band, and then Friday was our show day.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was crazy. So I had to learn 8 songs in 2 days.
Jeez.
So the first day I get up, I go straight to practicing. It's probably 8-10 hours. I just hit for the easy songs. Let me get these down straight, perfect, and we'll be good. I start playing them. Everything goes fine, right? I'm thank you, God. Thank you for your ability that you gave me to drum and do it correctly. and all this stuff. And then the next day I wake up and I try to hit the next 4 songs, and there's just 2 songs in that set that's just not clicking. And I'm like, oh goodness. So I stop for about 10 minutes and I'm just like praying. I'm like, God, you open this door. I like, this is the one that I need to get done. Like, I would love it if I can get this, right? And I go back to drumming, and they're still not clicking. It's not making any sense to me. So later that night, I'm in bed and I'm like begging, like, please, please, God, if there's any way that we can like switch just this one song, I'm like, please. And like, no joke, 5 minutes later, I get a call from the guy that is doing the show. He's like, hey, we have a drummer that wants to play these 3 songs, and one of them was that song.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my, thank you. So I have just learned that he just bumps me and nudges me on the right path continually throughout my life.
That
and there's
is
many,
so awesome.
many more. Yeah, there's many more stories that I can like get into and stuff where it just, in the end, I know that God has a good plan for me, and I'm still a growing Christian. I'm still pretty new to like the whole faith-based thing. Just like individually on my walk with him, not like family related, like through my parents or whatever. So it's been interesting the path that he always chooses for me, then, because I would go a complete opposite way, and then he nudges me back a little bit, and then it ends out all working for good.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you can be raised, in the church, and you can have a Christian family, but, when you make the decision to make your faith your own, and you make that relationship, not what you were raised with, but your personal relationship with Christ, I mean, there's definitely going to be some stretching that takes place, and there's going to be those learning moments. So, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have Lisa up next.
Okay.
Oh, it is her first time like speaking. So take it away.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what Christian said, of that God just in my life just repeatedly like opened up doors that like I wouldn't have even like considered. So to start off, many people don't know this, but I do ballet. I've been doing it ever since I was 8. I'm now 17, so like 9 years. I first started at a local ballet studio. I stayed there for a couple years, and then my growth curve just kind of like leveled out because I was old enough that I wasn't like really learning much anymore. So we ended up going to another studio with a carpool. So there was three or four girls, and each of us would take a night and we would just drive down to Syracuse, which is an hour and a half away.
Oh, wow.
And so I went to that studio for a couple of years, and then unexpectedly one day the carpool just like fell apart. And I really love ballet, and my parents really wanted me to continue with it, but the studio was so far away, and to make the drive on our own was a lot of gas money. So my parents and I were kind of like, what do we do now? Like, it's like a lot of money, so like a lot of gas money. And one of the other girls was like, hey, I'm in the studio like closer to you guys. If you want to like come try it out. And so we were like, yeah, sure, we'll go try it out. So we started going to that studio, which was closer. It had better hours and stuff like that. So yeah, better instruction.
Yeah.
So I'm currently still at that studio right now, but it was like the whole like freak out, like, oh my gosh, what we do? And God was like, no, I have a plan. I got you guys. Like, he's opening up doors. So that was really cool. Another one was my whole base into the dance story, I guess. So I'm not musically inclined to play music. Like, I've dabbled in flute and piano. Like, I love music, but I've never been inclined to play music. But one day my mom and I were in the car, and she was like, hey, like, if you were to learn any instrument, what would you play? And I was like, I think bass. Bass would be pretty cool. And Mom was like, cool. Do you want to have bass lessons? And I was like, sure, why not? It was like June, like I was out of school. And I was like, I have a whole summer free. Why not just take like a 10-session bass lesson, like once a week or whatever? So I grabbed my sister's bass and just started taking bass lessons.
Nice.
And little did I know, 2 months later, the former bassist of Undefeated stepped down. And so Undefeated was like, oh my gosh, you don't have a bassist. What are we going to do? And I was like, guys, I'm right here.
Right.
I literally at that point only knew Smoke on the Water and Shadows,
Which was our first single.
which was Undefeated's first single. And
Nice.
I've only been playing for 2 months. And so Mirth and Kristen were like, yeah, sure, we'll keep you in mind, but we're going to look around. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But little did they know that I did join them. And from then, I just kept growing in my bass life, my bass ability. And so I went through a couple different bass teachers, and the first guy I went to was super inspiring. I don't think I would have continued bass if it weren't for him. So shout out to him. Love that guy. He really helped me fall in love with the bass. So from all of that, I learned that like God has it. You just have to like walk through the doors that he opens.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be like in a crisis, but he has you and doors will open. You just have to walk through it and trust it that something good will happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
It might not always be what you think.
Right.
But yeah, so mine started a little differently. Kind of the same, kind of different. When I was probably 8 or 9, my mom says, I have no recollection of this, but she said I begged for piano lessons. I hated piano lessons, so I don't remember begging. But I will say, I just didn't have the right teacher at the time. She was very technical, which is amazing. Like, you absolutely need technical skills. But I loved to sing. I would sing anywhere, anytime, all the time. And as I got older, my mom was like, you can't constantly have people playing your instruments for you while you sing. Like, you need to have some sort of skill if you want to sing and continue doing this. So she put me back in piano. I found a teacher that was absolutely amazing. She was more interested in making music than all the technical skills, and she would slip in the technical skills that I needed. And I played piano for a while. It still is one of my absolute favorite instruments. I fully intend on having a grand piano in my house one day. And I picked up guitar. I tell this to people all the time when they're starting guitar and want to give up. I picked up guitar 4 times before it stuck on the 4th. Literally, like throughout 2 years, I would play a song here and there, try to learn chords, and would just give up because it hurt. Hurts your fingers, and it just got busy or whatever. But the 4th time, it finally stuck. And I wrote my first song titled Exodus 14:14. I was 13 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I was part of a youth group that they were very set on the important people being the head of everything. So you had like your lawyers' kids, your doctors' kids kind of stuff. And my dad's an English teacher, so it wasn't a thing, so to speak. And when I got invited to the worship team, I was one of the youngest there. I could transpose music, and I have no idea how I could just do this. Like, it was just a skill that I had and still do. And when I started playing and singing, and I was just kind of like doing backup vocals, whatever, the youth leader would take me into a back room. He was a 50-year-old man. I was 13, and like chastised me for trying to take over the worship, trying to take like the spotlight, I guess, away from his daughter, who was the leader. And I was super confused because I was 13, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They asked me to transpose this music because I can do it a million times faster, and we get practice back up and running quicker. And I would just help out if somebody needed help with this chord. I was like, oh, here, I can help you, and they would come to me and ask for my help. Like, no kid had anything, like, there's nothing wrong with any of the kids. Like, they were all super friendly. I was friends. Like, it was a wonderful environment, except for the leaders.
Mm.
And so this happened 3 different times until my parents were like, this is enough. And I don't think he expected me to go to my parents and be like, he is like that's not okay to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I just got so discouraged throughout that whole thing because any music church related thing that I was a part of, everybody looked at me like, you can't do this. You're not supposed to do this. I don't know why you're up here. To the point that they would ask Christian to drum. Like they had a youth worship team that would come up like once a Sunday. It would be Youth Sunday, Youth would lead worship, whatever you want to call it. And they would not ask me and then ask Christian to drum for them. And I'm like, we're part of the same family. They would try to put us on different weeks. It was a strange time. And I just lost a lot of confidence of, I thought I was supposed to do this, but it feels like I'm not supposed to because every adult here is telling me that I can't possibly do this or I shouldn't be doing this or something's wrong with me doing music. And that youth group had 2 bands in, one from Canada, one from Massachusetts, and their electric guitarist dropped out the day of the show or something like that. And so the youth band was going to open for these 2 bands that were coming in, the youth worship team. And their electric guitarist dropped, and they called me because I was the only person who could possibly play that electric guitar part. And keep in mind, like, I sang, so I played chords, but I really just loved to sing. And I had picked up electric guitar maybe once in my life when I got up on stage and just to like do little highlight things or whatever for these songs. And afterwards, they like warming up. I happened to sing a little bit of background vocals. The promoter for the Massachusetts band that came up to me, and again, I was 13, and said, I really feel like God is telling me that I need to encourage you. And my mom's first thought was, who are you and what do you want with my 13-year-old daughter? You know, because he's like a 40-year-old man. And he has a worship festival up in Massachusetts that he invited me to. Said I could get up and play 2 songs if I wanted to. And we kind of talked it over with my parents, and we thought the worst thing that could happen was we didn't go again. Like, everything looked legit. So my parents, myself, Christian, hopped in the car, and we went up there and
packed in like sardines, mind you.
But when I got there, they had all sorts of genres. They had like your typical Christian contemporary worship. They had like thrash metal. They had some reggae. They had some gospel, some country, some folk. Like they had all genres there. I think Michael Sweet from Stryper was doing an acoustic thing. He was the closer of that night.
Oh, nice.
So my first show, inadvertently, I opened for Michael Sweet.
Right on.
And I remember just getting there and realizing that every single person that was there, all these musicians were like me, and something just clicked, and it was so forceful that I knew that this is what I was going to do with the rest of my life, whether people around me agreed or not. And I've always been a very headstrong person, which my siblings can probably tell you, but I've always had a direction and I've always gone for it and known that that's what I'm going to do. And so on the drive home, I asked Christian if he would be the drummer for this new band that I wanted to be in. And he said, yes.
Okay.
Well, he sounded a little bit more excited than he just sounded. There you go. So we played at the lawn of a bookstore. I think our very first show, we made $20. We were rolling in it. I think we got ice cream afterwards. For probably a year and a half, we were just kind of playing acoustically, word of mouth. It wasn't necessarily a business yet. And then our bassist joined us, and we played with him for 2 years, and that's when we really started getting into different events. Once again, it was still all by word of mouth, etc. And when he dropped, we were kind of like in a little bit of a panic, like, we don't know what to do. I know I want to do this, but I don't know what's going on. And, you know, when Lise joined us, we kind of had our eyes open and we're like, all right, God, like, this isn't what we planned. But the one thing I always said, too, is I will never be in a family band. And so I think God took that and went, are you sure about that? And, yeah, and now it's, like, the best thing ever. Like, it makes travel easier. It makes staying any place easier. It makes how we eat easier. It makes practice easier. Just everything is awesome with Lisa in it. And she makes me laugh, so. But it was one of those things that I just knew that that was where I wanted to go. And I've always had that, even in times where we don't know what's going on. There was a time last year we switched vehicles. We switched traveling vehicles because we had more equipment and couldn't fit it into our small car. So our small car got like $30 or something to the gallon, and we're switching to a bigger vehicle, which gets like 13 miles to a gallon. And we had just spent, I don't remember, we had spent big purchases on drum sets and an ear rig and all this stuff. So we were pretty broke for a little bit. And we had an entire summer tour coming up that I had planned. And we take, I think, two volunteer gigs throughout the year, give or take. And I just wasn't getting as much contractual money out of this whole month than I had anticipated. And we were kind of looking at our funds, looking at the places we were going, being like, can we even afford to travel right now? Can we even afford to go? And I knew that God was really like, you're going to get in your car and you're going to go, even if you have $50 to your name. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but okay. And the first show we went to was Kingdom Come Fest in Indiana.
Yeah.
And that was kind of our trial run with the new vehicle, packing, all that stuff. And I just felt like, all right, God, it's going to be our trial run. We'll see how much gas we actually use, whatever. And we drove there, and we came back with like over $1,000 in merch, which for us, whenever we hit 500 to 600, that is a good show day. Like, we're like, wow, we made a lot of merch that day. But to come back with over 1,000 was, I feel like, God's way of being like, hey, not only am I going to provide for you, I'm going to provide for you so much that you didn't even see it coming, you know?
Nice.
And so we kind of went, all right, I guess we really are supposed to do this tour. And the first week we left, I believe we toured in July last year, right? I think it was all July dates. So we had 1 week, we headed out to Illinois. So we're from upstate New York, drove out to Illinois. And then, like, we had Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, PA. We had 7 shows in 6 days that first week. And the very first, I don't even remember what happened, but somehow in that week, so it's a 12 or 15 hour drive to Illinois alone, plus, headed to Tennessee, wherever. I don't remember however many hours that all adds up to be. Anyway, it's a lot of hours. We came back with not $200 having dropped out of our account for gas money. And we hadn't deposited any checks, any merch money, anything. So tell me how that makes sense, that only $200 would come out of our account with at least 30, 40 hours of driving.
Wow.
Like, that does not make sense to me. And it never hit our account. So I'm like, I can't explain it, and that was within that first week. Same time within that first week, we had a van get donated to us, a 15-passenger van, which we are now able to use as our tour vehicle, which, again, completely insane because we had already outgrown the other car that we had just started traveling in. And it was one of those things where, like, talking to some of our friends and asking for them, like, will you pray with us? We don't know if we should accept this van. Is this from God? Whatever. And words of wisdom from one of our pastor friends was, have you been praying for a vehicle? The answer was yes. Did God just hand you a vehicle? The answer was also yes. So why are you asking if it's from him? And I feel like we do that a lot just as people. Like, we'll pray and pray and pray for something, and then when God just simply gives it to us, we go, oh, wait, hold on. God, is this from you? Know? Instead of just accepting the gifts that he gives. I love the idea of just waiting with open hands, like you expect to give the gifts and the blessings, because that is what he does, because he's a good God. But now, so what was it? We only had $200 out of our account. We had a van, and like there was like 2 other things that happened that week, and I don't remember what they were. Shoot, I should have written it down. But it was such a week of so intense blessing that when we left, like Monday morning, we were like, I am scared for the next week of tour. Like, we got blessed so much in the first week. I am afraid of what's going to happen next. But it was just such a cool feeling to know that, again, it wasn't what we looked at, because what we saw is we don't have enough funds to travel. And what God said was go. And so instead of, like, really overthinking that and being like, we don't have enough, we should not go. We should be conscious, of the economy. And when God really tells you to do something, even if it's against everything that the world or your human instinct says, every fiber of your being, you should go anyways, because the blessings will be immense.
Yeah, that's where your headstrong personality really impacted you guys, because most people would probably look at that and say, probably not the right time, or whatever excuse they want to throw out there. But and it's one of those things I can relate, because most people that know me would say that I'm a pretty headstrong person. Now I will say that has gotten me into some trouble, from time to time, but it's just one of those things where you feel like God is putting something together. It may look like, it may look scary. It may look like, man, this is not, this isn't going to work out for one reason or another. But, obviously if it's from him, he's going to provide a way, and so you having that ability to say, oh yeah, I know it looks like we shouldn't do it, but we're going to do it anyway. Really put you guys, in that, to have that opportunity and to do that tour. And now, I mean, you look at where you guys are going now. I mean, I just saw you guys were in Mexico. What was it, last week?
Yep. Yeah, something like that. We literally have been home for maybe a day. We've been on the road for like 2.5 weeks, something like that. So I don't even know what's time.
So what year did the band officially start?
So Christian and I played our very first show August 5th, 2017.
Okay.
But we didn't start promoting it or like treating it as a business till about 2.5 years ago. And that's when things really started to take off, as
The ball started to roll.
the ball started to roll. Because I'm like, you know what? If I want to do this for the rest of my life, I'm not going to keep word of mouthing it. I'm going to start doing reach outs and, trying to be my own booking agent. And I mean, so far it's worked.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I follow you guys on Facebook, and, just the level of success that you guys are having already, and being so young, that's just one of those things where, you can see that God really has his hand, in your guys' ministry and what you're doing. One of the things that, I'm curious about, and I've asked a few people, but, you guys started doing the band, and, it's, unfortunately, oftentimes, kind of the Christian rock bands, at least, you guys are all over the place, so you guys probably have a better idea than I do, but from my perspective, it seems that Christian rock bands get put in this unfortunate situation where, they can't get, they struggle to get booked in secular shows and secular venues because they're too Christian. But then you have like the churches and the Christian crowd that don't want to book them because they're too heavy. And so, I mean, was that a concern for you guys? Like when you were, trying to figure out, what, you're going to do this type of music, and, and I know Christian said, he kind of started getting into rock music through, Seventh Day Slumber. And, but I mean, what was that a concern for you guys, where it was like, how, is this Christian rock thing going to work? Or did you guys just have the mindset of, we're just going to dive in and see what happens?
We always had the we're just going to dive in and see what happens. I don't know if we've ever really run into you're too Christian. We've definitely run into you're a little bit hard, and on the scope of bands we play with, we are the lightest. We know. But we mainly run into age things in secular shows, because Leaf was 15, 16. Now that she's 17, it's a little bit easier to book in different places. But we've also, this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but we've also not labeled ourselves under Christian rock. Yes, we are absolutely all believers, but the band as an entity, as a business, I wouldn't go into a dentist's office and be like, are you a Christian dentist office? You know what I mean? And so we didn't label ourselves Christian specifically because we didn't want to cut off any opportunities in the world. And we've kind of come to realize, which everybody's calling is different. That's why you really need to listen to God and know what you're doing, despite what people around you say. If you know that that is where God wants you, then that's where you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying many advisors win wars or whatever that quote is, because absolutely advice is good, godly advice. But we've also come to realize that when we go into these secular places, people don't care. They don't want to hear about Jesus. They think they know who he is. And the saddest part to me about that is not all churches like this, absolutely, but I've been a part of seeing different Christians when somebody hurting comes in, somebody who's had a lot rougher life than I had and looks like it, they are immediately
Shunned.
No, they aren't immediately pulled in. So they're shunned. They're looked at as less than. And if you walk into a bar, everybody knows your name and you feel like you're part of something, you know? And that's where I think the church should change, is changing. I'm not saying it's not, but it's definitely hard to witness that. And so when we play on stage in venues that aren't expressively in a church setting, we've come to realize that we're just there to remind people that there's somebody who loves them. So we choose to preach unless we feel like God is calling us to say something specific. But we have noticed, we have people come up to us afterwards that literally like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about you guys that it just gave me a breath of fresh air. Or they'll come back with a story that their mother used to tell them as a child, and it's a Bible story, and they say, I really need to get back to my roots. I need to get back to what I know is true. And that happens at least probably once every couple of shows, if not more.
Oh, no, I get easily 2 to 3 people a show, I bet you, at this point, that do that, depending on the venue. Yeah, so we've just kind of come to realize that we had a lot of people that were like, why aren't you preaching from the stage? You should do this because you have a little bit of a platform. And we always just felt like that's not what God is calling us to do, though. He's calling us to share the music, which in turn opens a conversation, I believe, that wouldn't have opened from just preaching. But every band is different. Every calling is different, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
My mom says literally since I was like started music that I was like, I'm not supposed to play in churches. And they were like, our 9-year-old is saying that she's going to go play in bars. That's not the right attitude that we want. And I didn't really say bars, but in the secular setting. And sure enough, as we've grown, there comes that headstrong thing again. But
yeah, I mean,
no, I completely understand what you're saying.
We're some people, we're called to reach the lost. You know what I mean? It's, church shows are great, but chances are if they're in a church, they probably already heard the gospel and, and heard the message. So, but when you're at a bar or, somewhere else, it's, you have you have the potential to reach people who, maybe haven't heard the gospel before, maybe haven't heard it, through song, you know what I mean? And, so I think that that's a really, really great thing. And I think that you guys definitely have a gift, and there are people who have been in music, for a long, long time who have not had, the level of success that you guys have had. So, that just goes to show.
We definitely work hard. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I hope you guys don't get offended, but I am curious, how old are you guys?
So Lisa's 17, Christian.
I am 20, which means I can say I've walked this earth for decades.
And I just turned 22.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
That's pretty awesome.
I bet you weren't expecting that, were you, Tony?
No. That's pretty awesome.
I've been wanting to say that for years, and I can finally say it. So I'm going to take every opportunity at this point.
There you go.
There you go. So I know you guys, I saw you guys were in Mexico for the, I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but I think it's called like Exodo Fest.
Yeah, perfect. Yep, that was perfect. Exodo.
And so, and I know you guys have done the Kingdom Come Fest, but so I'm curious, what has that journey been like for you guys as far as, being so young and you're officially international artists? How has that been for you guys, that journey and being so young of, just going all over the country, you're going down to Mexico. What has that been like for you? Walk us through kind of some of those emotions and that you guys have gotten to experience.
So it's been like a crazy ride so far. So we have played in Canada as well, but we don't really consider that to be a different country because we're so close.
We live like 45 minutes from the border, so
Right.
Canada to us is like, you know,
Yeah,
not even, it's closer than Syracuse is.
yeah, but so during the Mexico trip, it was kind of like surreal, I would say. Just the travel was definitely, I feel like it was harder just plane wise than it was on the road. But the people were very like accepting there, and it was great. We were able to talk about Jesus and the whole thing, and I'm like lost at this point.
No, it was a great experience. That was our first time, other than Canada, like out of the country. It was Lisa's first time flying, managing, you know, customs and all that stuff. My dad did go with us, so that was nice. And just everybody there, like Christian said, was so accepting, so nice.
So nice.
We were 2 hours southeast of Mexico City. And which means literally if anybody spoke English, it was the barest bit. So Christian and I pulled out as much Spanish as we could possibly get from our two heads together. And we used Google Translate a lot. But it was just so cool to see how music transcends different languages, and people were just moshing and playing, and I was so excited. Like, that's all I can really say. Every time we get an email for something new, we're like, this is like,
So
who
cool.
would have thought a year ago that we would be on a plane to Mexico to play an Undefeated show, you know?
Yeah.
So we're just excited. It's so cool to see just different opportunities open up. Another, I guess, God story. No, I guess it is a God
It is a God
story. So a couple months ago, I had my tonsils out, and I've always depended on my voice. I've always been able to depend on my voice. I was in an a cappella group when I was, I think, 15, where we practiced for an hour, and then we had a long practice, which was 2 hours at one point, and most of the girls, like literally 90% of the girls were like, I can't sing anymore, whatever. And I was still singing my heart out because I would sing for hours around the house. Like, my voice just did not give out. It did not tire. And I've never had that problem. So when I had my tonsils out, they told me about a month recovery before I was back to singing full blown. A month and a half goes by and I'm still barely talking. And so as a singer, like, this was literally just a couple months ago, you know, as a singer who knows I have a Mexico trip coming up, you know, trying to figure out all this stuff and whatever, and knowing I want to do this for the rest of my life, that's a little bit scary, you know? And so we went back, and what happened is it got reinfected, and I had acid burning my vocal cords. So literally as much healing as you can get, you still have burned vocal cords, you know? And so I've been doing all sorts of different, like straw therapy exercises and literally like speech therapy, like you would give to a kid. And it was one of those moments where something I've always depended on, that has always been there for me, God was like, okay, but are you going to give me this? Are you going to give me the most important thing to you? And I fought it for a while. I was like, I will sing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these exercises, whatever. And it wasn't getting better. And I knew enough not to oversing or overstress my voice and just kind of gently, whatever. Like, and it was up till, oh, I can say this too.
Yeah.
So we've been in the studio for the past week and a half working on new music. So that's super exciting. And my voice is about 70% recovered right now. I had to get scoped up the nose and everything. So that's been a fun journey to take a look at. But we knew we were going into the studio, and me going in with half a voice, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But through this time, I've learned to not depend on volume or big notes, and I've really been able to get into the nitty-gritty of theatrics and techniques and how to get a certain emotion out of a word without screaming it or whatever. And it was one of those things that I feel like the songs came out better than we could have hoped for. And it was the surrender of, all right, God, you have given me the voice that I have right now. It's not what I thought it was. It's not what I used to have. But if this is what you give me right now, then this is what I have to work with. And you knew that. So when I accepted that idea and said, all right, God, what are you going to do with what you give me right now? And kind of surrendered everything. All sorts of things have come out. Like in recording, I was able to hit notes that I haven't been able to hit for months. We were able to get just different takes for everything, and it's completely changed my way of thinking of how to use my voice. And so it was just an encouragement to, when God takes what you think is your most prized possession away from you, maybe he's going to give you something better. Not maybe. He's always going to give you something better as long as you surrender it and just don't hold tightly to things. It'll make your life go so much easier.
So, let's talk about your guys' influences. I'll let you guys go like one by one, but I'm just curious, what's your guys' influences, your musical background?
So, me as a drummer, I've always been more power driven, and definitely am into more of the screamo aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely derive a lot of my influence from bands like Wage War and I'm trying to think of the other one. Crap. Wage War, War of Ages, different bands like that. More heavy hitting, screamy vocals, I feel like. Yeah. Lisa?
So I have two. Beartooth, I love their breakdowns. They're so groovy. I just love their style. And for like a bassist in particular, I love Tanya O'Callahan. I just love the way she grooves. I love her style. I just love everything about her. She's so inspiring to watch. And I really want to see her play live one day. That would be fantastic.
Right.
I love Lacey Sturm has always been like one of my top favorites. Just her, I'm a lyrics person through and through. Like, it does not matter what genre of music. If I like the voice and I like the lyrics, I will listen to it. And just the layers and layers of meaning she has behind literally like every single sentence is just crazy to me. And 10th Avenue North has been that's the band that really started me along the path of wanting to be in a band. So they'll always hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, any particular one musician's guitar influences, bass player influences, drumming influences?
He's Googling it right now.
Is he Googling? Me too.
I gotta say his name right. Okay, so yeah, it is Mario Duplantier. So he is the drummer for Gojira. I don't exactly know how to say that correctly, but he definitely has crazy tom fills. He does a lot of stuff in different time signatures, which I do typically by myself, and what has had me grow as a musician insanely. And some of it transfers over to Undefeated with like the tom grooves and different stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely choose some elements that I like from his style of playing, and it's definitely shown in what I do.
Nice, nice.
One of my favorite stories when he was first starting like trick flips or whatever you want to call it. We were in a tiny little room in our house, and he threw up a stick, and it hit the ceiling or something, and it didn't hit his hand. So he looked up to see where, like, what happened to it, right as it, like, fell down and smacked him on the head. And I was 14, maybe. Oh, I feel like I can see the expression on his face, and it cracks me up every time. Vocally, Haley Williams is always my go-to. She's just incredible. Recently, I've started really getting into Kelly Clarkson. Just the technique she uses is, like the only word I could use is incredible. Like, there's nothing higher I can say because it's like the top, I feel like.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, for bass influences is definitely Tanya O'Callahan.
Yeah, same woman as before.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I could play drums, man. That was when I was a kid. That was the one instrument I wanted to play.
Me too.
Did.
Me too.
I did snare drum in like 7th grade just to kind of get a feel, you know. And I realized very quickly that I am not coordinated enough.
Well,
to-
rudimental drumming is very hard.
So, interesting little fact, I actually did not, refuse to play drum set live for, the first 2 or 3 years of Undefeated. I had a box drum, and that is the only thing I would play.
And he would face me the whole
I
time.
would literally turn away. I've never been one for attention, one for
It's like public speaking, like fear of public speaking, but fear of musician.
it's
Yeah.
terrible. And then my dad convinced me. He's like, you got to play drums, and I'm like, yeah, but they're loud. People are gonna look. It's terrible. He's like, yeah, but the cymbals cover you. He's like, you can't see your face. The liar. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Because I look at old photos, and I'm just like there, and in my brain I'm like, oh, the symbols are covering me. So, but it's definitely been a struggle. But now I've definitely grown into the part to where I can speak and different stuff on stage, which definitely took a while to learn. But I love drumming.
Nice.
Nice.
Very cool.
So what about you two? I mean, did you guys ever, experience where you had issues with, maybe stage fright or, like Christian said, not really wanting the attention on you? Did you two experience that, or did it just kind of come naturally?
I am such an oldest child. I've literally never struggled with stage fright. I think maybe once in my life I was so scared, and it was during a rough time in my life where I wasn't myself. But there's been times when Christian and Leaf look at me and they're like, you're nuts, because I'm like, I'm cool, I'm collected, I'm calm. Like, I always will hold to the fact that if God has built you for something, he has literally built all of you for something. And it's one of those things that I know that's what I'm doing, and it doesn't bother me. I think Leaf might have a different story though. I used to get a lot of stage fright. I just hated going on stage. I hated public speaking. I just hated it. But now that Undefeated has really trained me to be comfortable with who I am on stage. So now I get a little bit nervous, but I'm not as I used to be 2 years ago. Her Undefeated has trained me means her older sister yelling at her. Move more.
Right. It's contagious, man. I mean, stage fright is just. I remember.
We always have this pre-show ritual where 10 or 15 minutes before we go on stage, we're always backstage doing squats, stretching. It really just gets all the nerves out, so that really helps. The first couple years just to get all my nerves out of my body.
Yeah, it takes your adrenaline out and it takes your nervous energy out and converts it to adrenaline.
Right on. That's awesome.
Before we let you guys go, can you guys let our listeners know, ways they can stay up to date with what you guys have going on, ways that they can follow you or support you in any way?
And find your music, your merchandise, all of that.
Yeah, so you can find our music on every platform. Facebook, Instagram, what are we on? And
YouTube, TikTok.
Yeah, Apple Music, Spotify, all under the name Undefeated _official.
Oh, okay.
Makes it easy. Across the board, Undefeated _official.
On all platforms. Okay.
Yep, everything.
Cool.
And we do have some new music and some new merch coming out.
Nice.
So stay tuned for those. They are looking awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
sweet.
We're launching in about a month and a half, I believe, give or take.
Okay, so where can your fans go to find that merchandise?
That's all again under Undefeated _official. Our website is www.undefeatedofficial.com.
Okay.
Makes it easy. And there's a merch tab or a shop tab, I think it might say.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Under there. Or you can also message us on any of those platforms, and we'll send the direct link to you.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
Good deal. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much.
Before, but Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
All
Enjoy
right.
the rest of your evening,
Yep.
you guys.
You guys also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.